the Office of Women is established to advance gender equality and improve the lives of Australian women. I'm just wondering, would you consider your work to be undermined if there was also an office for men?
It's called Parliament, Senator Leyonhjelm.
Thank you, Senator. We work towards gender equality, and certainly there are times when policy response would necessarily involve addressing the needs of men in that.
Would your work be assisted if there was an office for men?
Senator Leyonhjelm, I'm just conscious you probably should be asking officials for an expression on a matter of policy.
That's not a policy, that's an operational question.
Whether there should be another department sounds to me like a question of policy.
No, it's not. It's a question of operational effectiveness.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Would your work be assisted if there was an office for men?
We would work with across government, so certainly those issues would be yes, of course we would work with them.
There's one of your objectives is ensuring that women and their children are safe from violence. Would an office for men that ensured that men and their children were safe from violence be complementary or competitive to your office?
It would be complementary.
Complementary, all right.
You realise most perpetrators are men. That's kind of
Senator
the point.
Waters, Senator Leyonhjelm didn't interject during your questions. I'll ask you to do the same.
Because they weren't inflammatory, they were substantive. Anyway, I'll be quiet.
Is there any discomfort or concern within your office about the absence of any focus on men at all?
There is a focus on men in terms of a range of issues. We certainly focus on issues to do with encouraging more men to use flexible work to be more involved with their families.
To say that again?
To be more involved with their, so that they take up more of the unpaid or the caring responsibilities in their homes.
Are there any instances where your office could be seen to be improving the lives of Australian women at the expense of Australian men?
Oh, God.
I don't believe so.
Okay, good. So you have an objective of advancing gender equality. By what metric would you measure gender equality?
There are a range of metrics that include economic metrics, so the details that we were discussing earlier around women's workforce participation, so their economic security, they're measuring the gender pay gap, looking at their ability to save for their retirement and to have assets in retirement. Are important economic indicators. We certainly look at women in leadership positions, as we've just discussed too, on government boards, but we also look at the private sector as well. In terms of health and the government's funded initiatives, in terms of health outcomes and broader social outcomes, we certainly look at how gender equality is impacting issues such as family and domestic violence.
If gender equality was achieved by those measurement methods, would your office be wound down, do you think?
It's a matter for government, Senator.
Yes.
I think that's a matter for government, not for Ms Bergen.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. What proportion of your staff in the office are men?
At the moment, we have approximately 25% of our office are men.
What proportion are Indigenous?
I believe we've just had one person that's just moved out, but we, at the moment, I believe, I would have to take that on notice. We have, I'm sure we have one, but yes.
But Asian descent?
Again, I'd have to take that on notice.
Aged over 60?
Almost one.
I'm just wondering if your office would be either helped or assisted or undermined if there are officers for each of those groups.
I don't think that's not for me to comment.
Well, operationally, I'm not talking about a policy question.
Operationally, we would work with those areas. We certainly work very closely with Indigenous Affairs colleagues in the outcome 2 for this department.
Okay. All right, I think I'm just about on 6.